3, 2, 1.
New Tesla Model 3 Project Dark Star.
Welcome back to the Tailosive Tech Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It is good to be back.
What's up?
Good old trio.
Can't cancel me forever.
Oh, dear Lord.
I pre-wrote the. There you go. So again, what's
well,
dead?
welcome
Can't
back,
say.
Randy.
Hi.
You missed 2 full weeks of news. Everything happened. You missed everything. I don't know if you caught last week's episode with me and Mike.
I did.
I thought I'd give you an opportunity to weigh in, tell us how wrong we are, in case there was any points you wanted to make.
Let's see. You talk about shoes. You talked about.
There were shoes.
You talked
shoes,
about. I'm spacing. What last week? What happened? What?
Don't
did
ask
you
me,
guys
I don't remember.
drastically-
Talking about leaks and rumors.
Leaks and rumors.
If it's worth talking about.
Right.
If it's worth scrapping, as no one knows what they're talking about. We talked about the Pixel Fold getting leaked by Google.
Pixel Fold,
Thanks, Google.
yes. Well, that's dated now.
And
yeah.
the potential of the Find My network with Apple Reality headset, like being able to see where items are through walls and stuff.
Okay.
You can track them down. I'm trying to remember.
No, I think that was the highlights. Those were the highlights.
And if Taylor's shoes were coming as well. In which he definitely confirmed that, yes, 2025 Taylor's shoes.
The merch will relaunch once again. Yeah.
Somehow merch returns.
Somehow. Soon he will have new merch. Younger.
That took 2
far
minutes.
more expensive. Yep. Guys, sit around. Cute.
Jeez.
Okay. Leaks and rumors. Let's talk about leaks and rumors really quickly. Weigh in on that. I get why. Like, it's one thing to speculate, and it's fun to speculate. It's fun to like form these little hypotheses, like, oh, if A then B type of scenarios, and even try to like play long-term chessboard games with what do you think this could mean? And always being with software, we're always wrong about software because no one would have predicted dynamic island being a thing. Stuff like that is fine, and it's fun. It's cool to do it, and I'd say we do that almost every week on our show here. I know you do dedicated videos sometimes on those types of things as well. When it comes to like confirmed and stuff like that, there's a lot of bad faith actors in the space that just like they try to bury the wrongs. So by when you talk so much statistically, you're bound to get something right, unless you're me. Well, which is why I do it a lot. But unless you're me, I have a pretty awesome track record.
You always get it right.
Randy Track always gets his
Randy
timeline.
1,000% accuracy.
I am the Minchi Kuo equivalent of timelines. I feel like I'm pretty spot on. But the thing is, like, should we talk about it? A lot of me says no, because in the words of younger Steve Jobs, and quite frankly, there's a lot of times I don't know what the hell I'm even talking about. And he says that, right? Like, I get a lot of things wrong, and we're gonna get there, and I don't know. I have the faintest idea what I'm talking about. And if we can't acknowledge, like, you know how you have to disclaim that this is a sponsored slot, or here's an ad read, or like, I would feel more okay with leaks, even big or small, software or hardware. I would be okay with leaks if people would disclose, if they were just honest. This is not, well, I got to protect my source. That's BS. You're not protecting your source. Show me the source. Let the source protect the source, At some point, at some point you got to show the math. You have to show the math. Otherwise, you're people are full of it. And so we've seen it all shapes and sizes about people who get it right and get it wrong. And I kind of feel like on like social media, like Twitter and alike, it's pretty easy to see who's doing it for the right reasons and the wrong reasons. CoinX did not. I believe him when he says, you believe me or don't, I don't care. I believe that. Whether he was telling the truth or not, I believed him saying that, assuming it's a him. That was a genuine whatever. And he was leaking things, and you could tell he didn't know fully. He's like little space things, little, I don't know, whatever, fine. He was vague enough to it. And then you get other people who like, I once had a dream that the new iPhone was going to come in red.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now you're making it gimmicky, and now there's some entertainment happening. People are gonna cover it, and then it gets very gray area very quickly. And that's when I don't like when people are covering it, because it's just like there's so much noise that it doesn't really matter. I don't really care if iPad gets a revamp OS now or not, because I don't know what to believe. I don't care if there's buttons or no buttons on the iPhone, just because that's how excited we are about. We're talking about buttons now. Like that's the pinnacle of iPhone this year. Buttons, really, buttons. Oh, USB-C. Sorry, Apple confirmed that themselves. And that's like like when they get something that you know is true, and then other people just kind of like really embellish it. Because they said that, well, we have to comply with EU regulations, and all of a sudden it's like, it's confirmed, and because of that, and I'm the first one to post this video to talk about it. Now you got to listen to all this other crap. I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, and that's, I don't know. It takes the fun out of just speculate. Just say you're speculating. Say why. Okay, not just when somebody covers a leak. Oh, I hear that the headset might be wireless because of what. Speculate on that. It's like, this is what we're seeing. I feel like it's because maybe instead of acting like, well, inside sources kind of tell me that it's going to weigh less, so it's not fatiguing on the head when you wear it, and you'll be able to see. Like, you don't know that. No one knows that. Just say, it's, you know what, I think it's wireless because it prevents from, because your vision's obscured. You're not going to trip over nothing, and it's easier for you to kind of move around. And I feel like that might help with doing some type of pass-through, when the same way Oculus has a pass-through, and it might help you maybe display some additional information. You know, like then it's like, all right, we're all on the same page. But when you act like you're a messiah, nah, man, nah, it's cool. So for us, we'll just keep doing. We're very self-aware about the situation. So poking fun at all of it. It's what I do best, because we're losing our minds over buttons and whether it's a mappable button on an iPhone. Like, that's how sad the space has gotten. So I can't help but just poke fun at the whole thing. So I'm not going to change my stances, like how I approach leaks and rumors. But it'd be nice if other people stopped taking themselves so seriously, because it's as the Gen Zs would say, mad cringe. No cap on me.
Did you guys follow the Analyst 941 thing at all?
Not at all.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. It's basically like a new leaker showed up on Twitter, and then, like, I feel like just a couple weeks ago they said that Final Cut and Logic were coming to the iPad. But their timeline was that it would come in 2024 and 2025. And then obviously we got it last Tuesday. And then they deleted their account and claimed that their source was their sister, who was fired. And
that story. I recall that now.
Okay, so you have heard some of it.
I've only heard the tail end of, like, he got his
News to
sister
me.
fired and everything. And it's just blown up into something crazy. I didn't know that, like, he had a whole...
I think it's completely fake.
You think
personally.
so? You think it's all just
It sounds very
Public
made
buzz
up
and
to
all
me.
that. Okay.
Yes.
You got
I
sex
think-
and drugs involved, and there.
There's a highway
All
speed
this-
chase in LA again, but involved him this time.
Yeah, they're all chasing down Analyst 941. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of news all coming out at once, and obviously a lot of it was clearly not true. That was part of what there was discussion about. That kind of sparked my video on the watchOS home screen, how I really like the grid layout. And we almost did, I think, like an entire podcast about that. But it was like, I really like that. That was inspired by the discussion of Apple is going to redesign the home screen in watchOS 10. That was a report from them. And now
Drew,
that the whole...
real quickly.
Yes.
Oh dear Lord, no,
Woo!
no.
How about this, Randy? Watch this.
There's just no.
Oh dear God.
He's gone to the dark side. See, I was gonna say this whole was it Final Cut and Logic on iPad Pro has inspired you so much, Drew, that you've sold your
Take
iPad
off
and
my
now
watch.
you've taken off your watch and you're buying all the Google products because Final Cut is that so amazing on a subscription on the iPad that you're like, yes, now I'm ready to buy a Pixel tablet or something else like that.
Okay, well, you brought it up. I know how I feel. I need to know how you guys feel, particularly Randy, because he's the Logic customer here. You actually can get Logic Pro on your iPad. Are you gonna do the free trial?
I will do the free trial after I wait for like an update or two on the patches. Like I'm gonna let it refine itself.
Okay.
To see. To see what's about. I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna be first to it. I don't feel like.
Okay.
I know hardware is a lot harder to get your hands on first. To do like product reviews.
It's hard to
and
get your
stuff
hands
like
on
that.
software too.
Software is extremely
Yeah.
hard, and I think actually software I feel like is the one thing that kind of levels it out. But me from last year, I would jump on Logic Pro yesterday if I could. I would get right on it.
Mhm.
I would even, to be honest, I'd take a step further. I would even probably buy an M2 iPad just to stress test everything. But Randy today is a full-time dad first, and I have no financial incentive anymore to try to be first and to give an analysis that would be unique on the Logic side of it. There are things that I saw in the demo that caught my eye. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then there's also things where I have where one question might have been answered, it kind of opened up more questions then. First one being, actually, for our visual viewers on YouTube,
Visual viewers.
behind the scenes here, I use this preamp. I have my portrait mode on, so it's blurred out. Hi, Mike. Yes, but I use this as my main audio input for this mic, for my the more professional mic that I use, and also for my guitar input. I run all audio tracking goes through that, and then it gets recorded into Logic. Whereas like my keyboard, my piano keyboard, it's a MIDI keyboard, so I have a USB-C or I have a USB-B to a USB-A plug, and that's the only thing that is like data transferred recording information, where everything else is an actual like recording device. So my setup for what it is has to accommodate on average 3 things happening all at once, and that requires 2 ports, both being maybe a USB-C. There's a way. There's obviously ways I can work around it, but for the most part,
Quack.
I could I could do that, and I got my version, which is just an Anchor, but
Yeah.
one of the things about Logic that is fundamentally different from Final Cut is that, and this why I mostly do Logic right here on this space on my monitors, because screen real estate is very important. And I don't think no amount of screen real estate that I'm going to get on my 2018 iPad Pro will make up for the amount of information I can try to throw at it all at once for the stress testing, especially if the input is going to be blocked out by like a third at the bottom. If I want to do like my own version of it. Okay, here's one thing that they solved: no guitar input. You could do your own guitar digitally on there. That looks
Play the
interesting.
iPad.
I could do that maybe, but then it's like, can I actually adjust those sounds? There's a lot of frequency things that sort of go into all that. And the thing of that people seem to also forget, there is already a Logic Pro companion app right now for the Mac that you can get on your iPad or your iOS device. There's a companion app that helps you do with automations and stuff like that. So it's like a digital soundboard, and you can adjust certain sounds and panning and all that jazz. But where the companion app is just meant to be like an extension of one component of the Logic board, this is a whole thing on this display. If you can really compress it, like visually, if I can make it small and it doesn't look like Bandcamp where it holds up like maybe 5 tracks and that's it. I fill up tracks that are I don't know, like 30 to 50. There's 30 to 50 tracks that are happening at any point with the stuff that I use it for, even when it doesn't sound like I'm doing that. So that's where I mean, like, I want to wait and see, because there's a lot of questions that pertain to my use case where I'm like, well, in theory it works, but in practice, no one really, who's to say? You know, I have to see. It's if it's just an advanced version of GarageBand, it's a step up. But I don't use GarageBand. I need more IOs to kind of cooperate. There's
bedroom band.
It's a bedroom band. So hang on a second. I'm gonna show you guys something really quickly here. I'm gonna send you a screenshot on Discord, and you can post this. Here's the amount of like information. This is an average workflow for me and for musicians alike who are doing audio. If you open it up at the very bottom, you see I have 114 tracks on this one. That one's more intense. So this is a more intense session for this is a completed song.
Yeah.
But 114 like that, I don't think I could push that with the M1 MacBook Air. That was going to be kind of pushing it without having it like pre-render, so that way I can listen to it smoothly. Because when you go back, it takes a lot of RAM, as we know. You know, like I have to go back and listen to things in lifetime and go back, and Final Cut will be another interesting one to see how that works. But Logic is very like timing specific, because you're working with music most likely. If you're just doing like, if we're doing podcasting like this and I'm recording into it, then it's not an issue. But there's other workarounds around that. I'm looking at Logic from the sense of like actually being a professional audio tool for music. It has to. This is my version of replacing my workflow for you, Drew. It has to beat. It has to match or beat this for me. It's a lot. I throw a lot at it. So I will still try it regardless of if it's good or bad with the reviews, because I'll know for my own use case of it. But I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical, and I think it's because the elephant we didn't talk about yet, and I'm done talking after this. I feel dirty that there's a subscription fee associated to it. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I would any audio, whatever, people would use Pro Tools if they want. If there's a subscription fee, then I'll just use Pro Tools, or I'll use I mean, there's a plethora of them out there now, and most of them are subscription based. I love Logic for the fact that it was a one-time purchase, and I have a certain expectation that it will keep working for me, not introduce new features that quote unquote AI compatibility, or maybe if you want to doodle the sound wave and this is how it's going to do, if you want to pitch correct it in a way. Yeah,
Is that a thing? I'd never seen
That
that.
is.
Before.
You didn't see that?
Did people? I saw it, but no, I mean like before this announcement, do people actually write music like that with like drawing on a
no. What that was
Why?
showing, the
what?
automation that it was showing in that particular one, it could
Yeah.
be one of a few things. It can either be volume automation, and that it has a visual curve like that, so louder,
Yeah.
get closer to 0, or drop it. It can also be panning left to right, going up goes right, going down goes left. It could also be intensity of the velocity of the note, so bing, 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 like so. Going higher is louder, softer. It has different. They all have different sound textures about it, and that's the thing that I'm optimistic about Logic. If it's copying Logic, that means it's actually bringing those sound textures over, which are completely manipulatable. You can make it be almost a one-for-one unique sound for you. Most of the sounds that I use on Logic, I manipulate to sound only like me. I won't use a stock sound because then anybody can mimic it, and then it's like, oh, it doesn't sound like that. I would be hard-pressed if anybody can mimic the Taylor Swift draw thing that I do with the sound. I know Discord cut that out, but
Challenge accepted.
yeah, but
Let's
because
see.
I manipulated it. I used sounds. Plus I used my own voice over it, but I manipulated it. You can use automation like that to like in lifetime adjust. It would be the equivalent of taking a knob as something's recording, going like that with the knob, or the dial going up and down. Or sorry, this is the knob, this is the dial. It's the pencil. The Apple Pencil is equivalent to that. You want to adjust it in lifetime. Wow, wow, wow.
I just wonder if a stylus is that a good tool for that control?
It's
Probably
it's
depends
a
on what you
preference
want to
thing.
do, right?
It's probably gimmicky.
Yeah.
Probably.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
I don't know.
Here's the thing. If you're because that what I'm describing right there, that's in the mixing phase or mastering phase. That's at the end of something most of the time. At least the examples I gave. I would not rely on a pencil to doing something as important as mixing or mastering. I would want more fine-tuned precision with like a mouse, a cursor, and I can and on the Magic Keyboard, there's a shortcut command that you can really zoom in to like the microsecond, and you can like make adjustments that precisely. The pencil, it looks like it's, unless you can really like pinch to zoom, and then really get in there. I don't know, because then if I mess up, do I have to scribble it like the way they use the iPad OS? Like, scribble it and then
Erase. Yeah.
it's a new way of training the body to do something that like most audio engineers or sound engineers, we have a certain like routine about that stuff. But I mean, it's for $5 a month. If you're just trying to pick it up, and this is like an introduction for people to like, hey, maybe I'll try out Logic. I think it's great. Even the doodling and all that, like it gives you a new way of understanding old techniques. I'm all for that. If it's teaching a new generation old stuff, fine. But for me, I or for a professional, not even me, somebody way above me, I don't know if they would. I find it really hard to see Hans Zimmerman to do an iPad over
Oppenheimer soundtrack made on iPad.
not on iPad and not on a Mac Pro. You like it, to me, like that's
Zimmer always uses Mac. Yeah, he's been in Apple videos too.
Yeah, if he endorses an iPad, I'm like, okay, what soundtrack did you produce on it? Then you have the endorsement.
The next
That would
Angry
be
Birds
interesting. Ah, yes, $5 a month, fantastic, just absolutely wonderful.
This is very nice.
How about you, Mike? What'd you think? Was it surprising? Were you unimpressed, or
Surprised that came out in the middle of nowhere, but I guess it was not. As a consumer, or a person who talks about this on a podcast, it's very nice and refreshing to have
Yes.
something in the news. Uh,
Mm.
Maybe, I mean, put on your tinfoil hat. Maybe they knew about Google's I/O and it was gonna sweep the news cycle and all that with all their new products and AI talk and all
Oh,
that. So they're like, how do we get in
okay.
front of this, or at least have our foot in the door of the
That's an
newsroom?
interesting theory.
So maybe we just put this out now because we've got mostly done, and the rest of the stuff that we still want to get done, we'll just put in the next update and all that. So there is that where like you could think maybe that's the tactic they're going with, or
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Another, I've heard others talk about on Twitter where Dub Dub is going to be jam packed, and they didn't have enough space for saying Final Cut and Logic are now on iPad, so they had to make its own. Was it even a newsroom post? Probably was. Uh,
Yeah.
and then that
But
was
it
it.
didn't get like homepage material, you know.
No, they got a video or
They
whatever,
didn't
but
put it
that's
on the
it.
landing
Or no,
page.
did they even get
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, it got a little 2 minute video thing where they show people checking it out that you've never heard of. Go,
Sure.
wow, that's great.
Well,
Uh,
I think it's great for those that want to do music editing on the go, whether in a car or something like that, but they don't want to take their MacBook Air or just MacBook in general. So it's like, all right, well,
yeah,
let's just take the iPad because it easily slips into, or you could just put on the Folio and go wherever you want and then edit music on the go while you're on the train or something like that. So I think it's a great way for those to take their work with them. It'd be
mm,
interesting to see if you can easily do that, where like you're editing on the Mac and you're like, oh, I want to go somewhere with my iPad, but I still want to work. Just move the project file over to the iPad and then continue work on that. A little bit of a learning curve with going from probably Mac to iPad and control surfaces and all that, but
yeah.
otherwise, I think it's great. I mean, great that it
If
finally came out. It took forever.
on
Mm-hmm.
that note too, that you're describing, Mike, if you can port plugins in, then I think it's just relearning. It's like swipe gestures for the first time. You get used to it after a while. But a big thing for our Final Cut is they have their LUTs. Can you bring your LUTs? I know people talk about LUTs. I've never used one, so I don't know. But I know that's a thing. In Logic, there's certain, I have certain sounds that are third party, that sound maybe more piano or more atmospheric or something. If you can
Mm-hmm.
port those over, no additional cost, then okay. All right. I take
I
it
think if
seriously.
you're able to like access your files app or folder app or whatever on your iPad
But
for
that's
Ooh.
the thing.
Logic and all
That's
that, you don't know, I guess. So
they
yeah.
have to fix iPad because you specifically there is
With what?
a
It's perfect.
there is a root path that you have to put your plugins in on the Mac for them to actually be accessible to the application to work appropriately. You can always move files and rename them or what that fine, but and this is where I think about the limitations of an iPad. If I move it in a way that it only accesses my profile, other profiles can't access my plugin. For example, if it's like a Logic plugin.
Hmm.
Whereas like there's no other profiles for iPad. It's just there's only one profile like on iPhone. So there's that, but maybe dare I say, Drew, stop me, man, stop me. But dare I say,
Okay.
are we going to see a redesigned iPad OS that's going to accommodate all this? Are they actually going to fix it?
Dare you? How dare you?
Don't
No,
do that. Don't give me hope.
My question from the beginning. Sorry if there was noises earlier. I just got a earthquake detected alert.
Are you okay? Man, that's a nice
Nothing has moved.
non-iPhone 10 I'm looking at.
Nothing has moved yet.
I'm waiting for the earthquake to kick in. So,
What in
if
the
all my Apple
SE
boxes
am I
start falling.
looking at?
But in other news, I would love to know how long these apps have been in development. I think would answer a lot of questions because the timing is definitely odd. I think Mike might be onto something with the whole getting ahead of I/O. Like if we talk about this right before I/O, Apple will kind of get a lot of media coverage during that week, and it's kind of like it scatters the Google news up a little bit. And it makes me think about how, okay, well, they announced it, but it's still not ready until the 23rd, which is kind of awkward release window. I'm not sure why you wouldn't just wait until Dub. You're so close. And that would have made even a pretty lackluster iPadOS 17 would have felt a lot more major if it was announced alongside the Pro apps. If they were like, and now we're bringing, we'd be like, oh, they did it finally. Now we're
It's
like,
worth it.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, it's back. Okay. And the other thing is, why not unveil this with the M2 iPad launch, which was just a few months ago? Like, it wasn't even that long ago that they dropped new iPad Pros that we all kept saying barely anything changed. You just put an M2 chip and you're like, hover. The pencil hovers now. Like, if you would have coupled it with that, I feel like it would have made the M2 iPad
There was a price
feel like
increase
a bigger...
with the M2 iPad too, as well, right? That was a price increase that happened.
I don't think there was. Not at the starting end, at least. M1 iPad Pros got
The
mini
iPad
LED. And
9th gen got a $50 increase, I think. Like,
I think that one was still $330. It was iPad 10 that got the big price increase.
That's
but
what I'm
that
talking
was
about. Yeah.
that was earlier, wasn't it?
That was
Or
early.
no, that was at the same time.
I
can't remember now.
No, I don't think it was at the same. I think that the Pros came independently. I don't remember anymore. But anyway,
I think it was the same time.
So price
But-
increases might have been a thing. Here we go. Here's where we'll talk about like speculations, and it's fun to speculate here. I feel the reason why they might do this now is strictly because they found whatever. Remember this past week we got a weird software update with an A associated to it. Never been done before.
Oh, yeah.
But now we have an A patch, which is weird. Like,
I didn't see that. I missed that.
You didn't get
Oh,
the A
yeah.
patch?
there's an A
It
patch.
was a whole
It's very-
security A patch. It's like you need to download this now or update this
okay.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
I feel that for whatever reason, whatever stuff they're working on the back end, they can confidently push this product out in a way that doesn't. It's taking advantage of all that headspace with even the A12X chip, for example. Like, there's a way
Mhm.
to do it that doesn't like just completely obliterate the battery life, because every iPad that has an A12X chip does not have good battery life anymore. That's a statistic. There's all the ones in circulation, most are used unless you're purposely holding one into the box, but then it's been sitting for years. Like, these batteries are dying, man. So all that headspace that's right there with the performance of the chip, which is basically an M series chip anyway. This is their way of whatever voodoo that they had to do to prevent it from like nuking the battery. Bare minimum performance you can clock the performance without nuking the battery or the RAM or whatever. And it's like, okay, now we can make this efficient. I think they were ready. I think they were ready 2 years ago whenever we were talking about it. Like, oh, it has to be imminent. It has to be imminent. I think they were ready then. But Apple being Apple about stuff, trying to figure out a pricing, trying to realize that if we do it too soon, it's going to cannibalize iPads because no one's going to want it. Nothing's a subscription yet. But now that we've been introduced to subscriptions for a few years, it doesn't sting as much at like, oh, $5 a month. Of course it is. They'll bundle it with like, oh, soon we'll have an even better all-in-one Apple subscription to compete with that of the Creative Cloud for Adobe. But unlike just productivity suite, you get iCloud, thus email relaying and spoofing and all that. You get IP hiding. You get all the things that iCloud as a whole comes with. This iCloud Plus bundled with services, bundled with Apple Card. I don't know. That's the big iPad OS 17. We're gonna get Apple Card application for the new bank app that's coming, and that will be on the iPad before a calculator does, and yeah. I think Apple's just they're in that weird. They know they're in a weird spot. Like they can't just like drop it all at once. One of us talked about. I think it was you, Drew. One of us did. They could launch all this stuff at once, but then you really don't got anything for next year. How can we make it feel worth it while also perfecting it? Oh, just trickle it out every season or maybe every quarter. Not everything needs a keynote. The iPad keyboard with the trackpad and all that didn't get a keynote. No AirPods, but the original didn't get into keynote. It's not weird that we're not getting keynotes for non-iPhone products. iPhone, I feel like, will always need a keynote. Unless it's a yellow iPhone, then somehow we forget.
Unless
Never forget.
Mike's head is just that cartoon
Stop.
guy.
It is. Every single day, it's the cartoon guy with his phone whipping around. Please stop it.
But you get what I'm saying, right, guys? Like I feel like
He's not real, Mike. He can't hurt you.
Oh,
Yeah, I get what
he's
you're
in the back rooms waiting for me right now. But
not the back rooms.
Yeah, I mean that it does kind of make sense, but it still makes me wonder why there would be such a long pause between the announcement of it and the actual launch. Like it was almost 2 weeks between the press release and now it's available. It's still not available, and it won't be available on next week's podcast either. We gotta wait till the 23rd.
Fired. That's why somebody messed up. I don't know.
They have to weed out the leakers.
That's right.
But I think personally that this has to do with the sales of the M2 iPad Pro. I think they're not selling very well, and everybody who reviews them is just like, yeah, I mean, it's fast, but you don't really notice because there's not much Pro software anyway. So Apple was like, okay, I did a whole skit on this, basically. Like, they're piling up in warehouses, and it's starting to cost too much. We had to buy a second warehouse to store all of our M2 iPads. So let's drop something that quickly motivates a ton of people to upgrade their iPad. The funny thing is, though, everybody's going to buy the M1 iPad Pro certified refurbished now because M1 is good enough for Apple. But I still question, seeing how capable DaVinci Resolve is on my iPad Pro, seeing how well LumaFusion runs on my iPad Pro,
Yeah.
I still question how legit it is that you need the M1 chip to run Final Cut on the iPad. I'm like
Stage Manager, they'll watch the video and they'll push like.
We won that battle, right? They said no, you need an M1 chip, and then everyone got upset and they went,
"Do we?"
Oh, never mind.
Well, actually, we just optimized it, so it works.
Due to lots of passion that we heard from the iPad community. It's like, that's a
So
nice
much
way of
passion.
putting it.
You could
There was
take your
just so
M1
much.
chip and you could so much passion from the community.
There was so much love of Stage Manager that we decided to actually bring it to everybody else. So I still think they could totally I mean, they had early versions of Final Cut, back in 2010 and 2009. You can run it on those crappy old Intel machines.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that the A12X chip can do it, but there was probably one or two features that required some neural net crap that they were like, yeah, A12 doesn't have the proper neural cores for this Apple Pencil drawing on top of the video feed feature. And if we can't include that, then we might as well not include the rest of the app.
How
I'm
else
sure
would
there's
you know if
some
you
of that.
can't hover over it to make sure the placement?
Now I'm just picturing Final Cut Pro running on a 10.9-inch display, which I don't think has happened before. Like, at least natively. It's a very small screen, and they're optimizing it all for touch, which is good because it's a tablet, but at the same time, I think it's kind of a weird position because we've been asking for these apps for years, obviously. But I think the reason people were asking for Final Cut and Logic was not, and I'll throw in Xcode, by the way. We were still hoping for Xcode, haven't got that.
No one uses that.
That's true. Overrated app anyway. But I think people didn't want those apps to be completely re-engineered from the ground up. Like we weren't asking for better iMovie. We weren't asking for GarageBand Plus or iMovie Plus that's optimized for the iPad. No, we were asking for apps that we already knew and had and paid for and were comfortable with on the Mac. We were like, yeah, just take that app. Maybe some people meant it differently, but the way I intended it was take that app that I use on my Mac that works great and just bring it to the iPad so that even if I choose a different hardware product, I'm still able to access that same program. And I think those requests especially kicked up a lot of traction once we started getting keyboard and trackpad support on the iPad. It's like, okay, now you got all the tools that I have on my Mac, but without the apps that I use on my Mac. So this is, to me, feels like kind of the roundabout way of them saying, oh, okay, we did it, but we changed it all. We had to update it. Have you seen the Final Cut like dial thing off to the side
That thing's cool.
to help trim?
Yeah, what is that?
I'm watching videos. I'm trying to figure out how exactly it works, but what's concerning me is that pretty much all of the footage and pictures they have of it, almost none of it, I think there's 2 pictures I've seen, showcase it working with the keyboard and trackpad. And when it's working with the keyboard and trackpad, it doesn't look the same way it does on the Mac. And it reinforces that theory that Marquez, I think, put out there a while ago, that when Apple designs something for the iPad, they're not allowed to just bring over the Mac version. They always have to, well, make it unique, make it do it in its own way. So it has a keyboard, and it has a trackpad, and it has Thunderbolt, but it can't have Mac OS. That's too far. Okay, now people want Final Cut. Okay, we'll give it Final Cut, but not in the same way. And I feel like, okay, that probably unlocks a few things, like hey, you can draw on the video feed, or you can remove the background in real time. It's like subject lift for video type thing. And you've got this dial, so it's touch friendly. So it's like,
What is that? So I'm
make
looking at
it
the dial
unique.
right now. What's it supposed to zooming? Is it zooming?
The way I saw it in the video, if you don't look at a picture of it, but there's
Oh,
a
yeah,
2-minute video they uploaded for it, and he seems to be trimming the ends of clips with it. Like he's either moving it or trimming the edges. I'm not sure which. It might do both depending on what you select. But I get the feeling that my traditional workflow, where I'm like scrolling through the timeline sideways and cutting, I don't think that same workflow will carry over, but I could be wrong again.
Your
I haven't
workflow
tried it
is
yet,
wrong. That's you're workflowing it wrong. That's what they're gonna tell you.
I will continue to say iPadOS is limiting it as long as there's iPad challenges. That's what people call them. As
Well,
soon as,
I feel like
as
it's
long
okay
as you're
to have
bragging
like,
about it.
I feel like it's okay to have like a curve in terms of like adoption and like learning how the interface works. So like I'd say provide some leniency there versus like it's an iPad, so of course it's going to be a little bit more difficult or a little bit weird and ridiculous, and so that makes it invalid. I'd say more the opposite of it makes it more unique, and maybe it fits someone else's editing style better. Or you might find if you try it out that it may go quicker for you, just because it does something that macOS can't do quicker. Where it reminds me of the little dial that they have for the Surface desktops. I totally forget
The
what it was.
studio,
But yeah, the
the
Surface
Surface
Studio.
style.
Yeah, the Surface dial and all that. It reminds me of that, where you can like put it on the screen or you can just put it on the ground and all that. But like the possibilities that unlocks just by having that user interface where you're stuck with like that type of tool because you've stripped away the mouse and keyboard and everything. It may unlock a quicker workflow, but you don't know that until you try it out. But or it could just
True.
be crap. We don't know.
Well, because of all of the lead ups to iPadOS changes, that's why I'm skeptical, and I'm like, you're right.
Sure.
It is possible that they've unlocked some use case that couldn't be achieved before or wasn't achieved before, but I'm I'm looking to be proven wrong, not like assuming it's going to be way better, because again, it would be more exciting if I could try it on my iPad Pro, but the fact that they're putting it not just behind a membership, so I've already spent the $200 on Final Cut for my Mac, and the $1,000 I spent on my iPad isn't good enough either. I have to now buy an M1 iPad. And of course, if you're editing in Final Cut, you're not going to want to go with 128 gigs. If you're using multicam editors and you want to use more, and there's only one port, so plugging in an external SSD is a lot harder. Oh, you better get the 1 terabyte option at least. And
Jeez.
now we're talking like at least $1,200, $1,300, and that's just for the tablet. That doesn't cover the case or the keyboard. And then $5 a month, $50 a year. It's like, how many hoops do I need to jump through to just emulate what is already possible? Essentially, is why I'm just kind of sick of this. It feels like full self-driving. This is we got FSD and FCP. Now we've got FCP beta, and there's a better version coming in 2 weeks.
Very weird that ProRes RAW can be filmed in the app, and that's it. Here's where I like. Here's what would make me upgrade to the iPad Pro if I was like a video editor like this, or if I was my version of Drew. Okay. Hear me out. My version of Drew, because I execute things a little bit differently, but the end result's still the same. So, I want. Let's go back to the drawing board for a second. Put iPhone quality camera sensors in the iPad. I want the same iPhone 14 Pro sensor array.
Sure.
3 clusters.
Why not?
Put that on the iPad. That's
It'd be so thick.
Don't care.
Be.
Yep. Perfect.
Don't care.
Perfect. I want that.
Thicker the better.
I want that with or without LiDAR. That part I don't care, but for the sake of it, put LiDAR on there, because LiDAR just blows my mind about why are you here? Why do you exist?
It's been over 3 years now of LiDAR on the iPad, and we still don't really know why it's there.
We won't know until they drop this headset how useful LiDAR is. They're going to tell us.
You have to put 5 iPhones around your room, and all of
It's
LiDARs
for
work together.
It's for the visitor center at Apple Park when you hold it up.
It's for when we get the WWDC thing and we get to like zoom in.
The invites. It's LiDAR is pure marketing.
Yeah. It's very expensive marketing that we paid for it. So put the camera sensor, the camera array, the clusters from the iPhone 14 Pro, put that on the iPad first and foremost. That's a non-starter for me. Until we get that, I don't take it seriously. Okay. Assuming we get that, okay. Give me the ability. Give me the closest thing in Final Cut. If we can record straight into Final Cut, then theoretically we can bypass OBS in some capacity. If I can film straight into it, give me the cleanest transition, because I use OBS for virtually everything. Give me that. Give me the better version of OBS, but give me the controls that I could do while I'm recording. When that's possible, because I'm looking at the example right now with the cinematic mode, that you get the same edits that you get in the Photos app, which tells me, looking at this UI, this tells me we're about to get an update on Final Cut and Logic to coincide, because one of the other buttons says send to Mac, and when I look at Mac, it has a roughly the same look of what we're working with right now, but I suspect we will get more content.
We're going to update them to require $5 a month membership fees,
and then that's when they lose me as a customer.
Then we're done.
Then we're done. Yeah, then I retire. That's like, all right, this is a different person's game now. But yeah, so from what I can see, with the cinematic mode, and they give you all the little clusters that you can get in the Photos app to adjust aperture and where to focus and stuff like that. You're already showing that you can manipulate footage film on iPhone. So one, put that just on the iPad then, and if we can film straight into Final Cut, as that's our our project timeline, effectively. And I'm thinking more Logic headspace, because when you record in Logic, you get the red bar. I want that for Final Cut when you do that too. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
When you could do that, you can edit all in one spot. To go off of Mike's, trying to give some leeway here, what Mike is saying, I can see a quicker timeline of importing, exporting, bouncing, correct the color. If my version of Drew, like I said, is that I would have already pretty much a color correction LUT that I manually created, I could just drop onto it, assuming we can do that. If I pull from what I already have on Mac, if I can pull it and drop it, boom, color correct, cut. I know for you, Drew, your thing, because you hate editing so much, that is how quickly can we and slim down, and that's really the hold up and why LumaFusion can't replace Final Cut for you. But where we will differ is that if I have to take the time to do that, if it gets it all done in one spot, now that means to me, that means with an LTE or 5G version of something, you do have that MacBook on the go where you can upload, because 5G is supposed to replace internet, they say, so my upload speeds would be half a gig. You would think that was what the advertisement said. I could bounce all this stuff up and edit and give you all that. I guess what overall what I'm trying to say is, you only sell me on this as a customer when you fix a solution that was not really a problem, but how you fix it is streamline. If it's all done in one app, give us that ability to move quicker on a more portable device. If I have the same amount of steps or more, because I have to work with less I/O or a different interface or whatever, I have to figure out how do I replace mouse gestures with scrolling. Like, okay, universal control shows me when I go like this and I go over, it works just fine as universal control. You're showing me that you can get there, Apple, but if you give me the same or more steps, it doesn't fix anything. You're having me pay you to add more steps and problems to my workflow. And that's a problem. But I would do $5 a month if it was capable of doing all in-house, relatively quickly. With the pencil, though, I don't really see in my head, though, and this is my fossil brain here. So I'm too old to get it now. Why would you want to use the Apple Pencil or swipe gestures on Final Cut when it can't be as precise? Because you have to move slow. You're only as fast as your finger to eye coordination can work. Whereas with the mouse, you could just, I don't know, you move quicker. You get more gestures, right click, left click, and everything's just right there at the fingers.
Variable tracking speed as well with the trackpad, unlike a finger. Yes. Your finger moves as fast as you can move. With the trackpad, exactly. You can move on a smaller space. Yeah. This is why I have to wait. So
not only for Logic, but for Final Cut, I have to see it because I have reservations. But I'm thinking as a YouTuber. I'm thinking as a content creator. As someone who's just trying to get started in the game or whatever, this is going to be perfect for them. I won't dismiss that. It's a cooler version for...
I might.
Go ahead.
I might dismiss it just especially for Final Cut because of the pricing. Like, if your goal is I want to get more into video editing, I want to just start out, this is starting with, I guess if you go with an iPad Air 5, maybe that's $600 for 64 gigs. Like, putting it behind the M1 chip, I think, is where I take issue. Is like, well, it's a starter. It's what you can start with. I'm like, at that pricing, you're so close to, like, do what Mike did. Have a friend that works at Apple that gives you an employee discount on an M1 refurbished MacBook Air, or find one secondhand for $700, and that one will come with 256 gigs of storage instead of 64. And sure, I guess you wouldn't have access to the $5 a month Final Cut, but there's so many great free video editing apps out there like DaVinci that you can access on Mac OS that give you the full unlocked version instead of the iPad scaled down version. iMovie I haven't messed around with in a long time, but I'm sure for the basics it's probably fine. I don't know if I would recommend people get M1, or in Apple's case, because there's some people out there that just won't buy anything secondhand or refurbished. Buying an M2 iPad Pro quickly turns into a $1,000 plus expense, and then you're still using a version of Final Cut that is, in my guess, going to be missing some basic things, or not going to translate as well if you wanted to transition into more of a video editing career for someone else, editing other people's work, or if you're just a content creator independently and you're trying to make video. Like, I just say, if you're on a budget, you're better off going with a Mac Mini. If you need something on the go, then there's far cheaper M1 devices out there with more capable software. And
but assuming you
so
already
expensive.
have the iPad, though, right? Like, some people, that's the argument I heard thrown at my face sometimes, that some people, they already have the iPad, and they're like, oh, well, I don't have a Mac. I don't use Mac. I have an iPhone, I have an iPad, and I got the iPad Pro M1 because I want it mini LED or whatever. Like, I got it. I got the setup, and it is what it is. To them, they might, I mean, come on. Apple Pay Later. Some people like, it's only $5, Drew. It's only $5. It's fine. It's $5, man.
Split that $5 into 4 separate payments across 6 weeks.
It pays for itself, Drew. I mean, come on. Yeah, I don't even have to pay. You don't. I don't have $300 to throw around like that. They'll say for the application outright, plus another $799 or whatever for the cheapest MacBook Air I could get, M1. They'll say all that. They'll be like, I already got the iPad. I already got the folio case. I've had this since 2021, and this has worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I do like doing my school projects on blah 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 blah. LumaFusion it's almost gets the job done, but some things it doesn't have the Apple magic. It doesn't have that that zhuzh. What do you say to those people?
Make absolutely sure, the same thing I tell Adobe Creative Cloud people, which is make absolutely sure there's not a free version that does everything you need, because I think most of the time people use Adobe apps for somewhat basic, like casual things that could easily be done with other things. And sure, I admit that there's certain tools and features baked into Adobe that you can't access in those free versions, but that's why I just preface them by saying, like, just be completely aware of what those are. Like, challenge yourself, because that's what I did. I was on Creative Cloud because that's what I kind of grew up with and was used to. And then they were raising the prices consistently on me. I took one price hike and just ate it in the face. So I was like, oh, okay, $30 a month sounds good. I need it for work, whatever. And then another one was coming in $50 a month. And I was like, why? Why $50 a month? What's changing? And they're like, nothing. We just want more. And I was like, okay, let me try something else. So that's when I tried Final Cut Pro again, because I hadn't used it in probably 7-8 years. And I was like, okay, can I make my workflow get by with this? And I tried it. I experimented with it, and I realized, oh yeah, just about everything I need is already accessible here, and I won't have to pay $50 a month. At the time, I got the Pro Apps bundle, so that's 4 months worth of Adobe Creative Cloud lifetime access. Well, at least I thought lifetime. Apple might change their mind here any day. We'll see. But
that's the announcement at DubDub.
We're very excited. Final Cut Max is coming. Oh God! But yeah, I would say make sure.
Wow.
Make sure DaVinci on the iPad is physically incapable of doing what you need for video editing on an iPad. And obviously, everyone, I encourage, if you can, check out the free trial. See if you like it. See if it does something that another free app can't do. And if that's something that you think is really important or something you need to access frequently, then I guess I can see the market for it. I just think it's pretty small. Like the number of people to care and appreciate those types of nitty-gritty tools and high-end details are usually the type of people that are already using a Mac in the first place. If you're on an M1 iPad and you don't use a Mac, I think you're less likely to care or be interested in those high-end Final Cut features. So it's a weird overlap that I'm struggling to find.
I don't disagree with the look for a free version first if you can. I go out of my way to find my Photoshop replacement. But for me, free might just be a one-time purchase, whether it's Procreate. I use a photo editing app that I realized I had bought and then removed from my iPhone years later called Afterlight. And Afterlight, I think, is still the number one rated in the App Store for photo editing. It's like on the paid tab. And it works great. It does all the, like, when people think they need Final Cut, when people think they need, like, Photoshop, for example, they don't need the deep-rooted, like, no, but I need to be able to get in there and at the opacity at this right here, and it needs to go, I need that gradient from green to, like, they do all that, and most people don't need that, and if you do need that, then they, like, iPad, we're like, but the stylus helps, and like Procreate or Pixelmator and all the, like, they're already out there and they already know about that. Like, it's not like a secret or something like that anymore. And that was a way to kind of compete with the Creative Cloud thing with Adobe. So Adobe's response was that then they create more, like, oh, try Lightroom. It's like Photoshop-esque, but it gives you, what you're trying to do is you're actually trying to just edit your photo, not do these great intricate details. So let me give you a lighter version of it called Lightroom, and this give boom, and so, like, it kind of balances, like, it's like a dance that happens. And that was the beauty, that is not past but present. That's the beauty of the App Store as it exists today, that there is an app for everything, and there's a very good chance there's an app, a free app for everything. But I don't want the watermark. Well, there's another free app to get rid of watermarks. I do it all the time, except at the time it wasn't free, so I paid for it. But if you care that much about a certain process of how you do, it might cost 2 apps instead of 1, or 3 apps instead of 1. But if I'm not paying any money at the end of the day, I didn't pay any money. And if my workflow is color correct, move it over to this other thing, remove the watermark, move it to the other thing, and that's how it gets posted to social media or whatever, then there you go. There's my alternative to Photoshop. And most of the time, this new curated, like, here's these presets, do work good enough. And I don't even say that for photos, but I notice in LumaFusion, what, $20-$40, whatever it was, that one-time payment, and the less that are in there,
I think.
Okay, there you go. I was able to, like, I could do a lot with the presets that are in there that are still customizable, and I can adjust, and I do, in a way that I couldn't do manually if I had Final Cut to go in and do a certain color correction, invert colors. Like, it would have taken too long. Where it's like, hey, here's a plugin or a LUT you put over it, boom, done. And a lot of times, it is good enough. Good apps are getting cheap, and cheap apps are getting good.
Yeah.
There you go.
The other reason I'm still more in favor of the one-time purchase idea is, sure, people still do in their mind, like, yeah, it would take 6 years of memberships before you'd save money by buying it outright. But the thing is, Apple can change the price of the membership at any time, like they have for Apple TV Plus. Like they're probably realizing the business of selling lifetime access to certain pro software is not as profitable. So I don't think people should look at that. Well, it makes it more accessible. It's like, yeah, you're still going to be paying more for it. They're just finding a way to creep into the bank account a little bit at a time rather than all at once. So you don't know if your price is locked in at $5 a month for 6 years. 4 years from now, they could up it to $7 a month or $10 a month, depending on how useful it is or how many people use it. Honestly, if not that many people use it, they'll probably keep the price low. So maybe hope for that.
Yeah.
But I saw people making the argument that if it's a membership, it's more likely to receive updates and new features.
Mm.
Do you guys disagree with that? Or like, I don't really understand the mindset. Like if there's recurring revenue, that means there's more attention given to it than if it's a one-time purchase.
I guess so. I mean, how often do these apps like Final Cut get updates, right? And
Feels like
would
not that much, at least on the Mac.
yeah, versus like Adobe and all that. I mean, two different companies and all that, but
Yeah,
uh
Adobe gets updates every 2 seconds.
right. So it depends. That'd be a really weird reality, right? Because then you'd have, for some reason, which should be, I think it'd just make you explode, Drew. The iPad Final Cut Pro might surpass the Mac Final Cut Pro. And if you want to get that specific like tool or anything like
Mm,
that, you have to use the iPad version just to be able to, I don't know, do the thing that you do with editing is like cut out a lot of the dead air and
yeah,
also
yeah.
maybe something else that can tell like when you're scrapping a clip or whatever, it can use some AI like what Google does with everything. We'll get into that later maybe. But
Uh-huh.
use some AI or machine learning to be able to figure out what things to keep and what things not to, kind of like what we've seen with some automated editing software that's been up on YouTube and other stuff that people have been checking out. But
Hmm.
being able to do that, and then it's like, wait, you're stuck with the dilemma of like, do I stick with the Mac then, or does it make so much more sense then just to let the iPad do everything, or at least plug in all your footage, and then it just automates the whole editing process. And at the end, you just have to make sure that everything looks good, put on the bumpers, and then that's it.
Hmm.
It could just be, it'd be very weird. It'd be a very weird reality if that were the case. And I think I'd be interested in that because that just makes things a lot more interesting for the iPad because it definitely needs that. Uh,
I'd love it if that were possible. I just don't see why that would only be on the iPad when the Mac
right.
still has the higher end silicon.
Indeed.
But it could be a push towards the membership. That's what I'm scared of. Like, I just pulled it up on the App Store. Final Cut Pro hasn't received an update in over 6 months. So sometimes it'll sit and be just the way it is. And maybe the mindset is by turning it into a membership, they'll be able to fund a more designated team that's able to add features and support more things as they bring it to more devices like they have for the iPad. Um, but if there was like a AI edit video for me, just like Google has the help me write function. Did you see that part?
Oh, Randy, did you miss all that from
I only saw highlights, but I did not see that. I only got the
Oh
highlights
my
of it.
goodness.
What were in
Help.
the highlights? I'm curious how they
So,
condensed
I
down that
got
event.
what's really cool is Google is so nice to the people that are interested in what their IO had that year that I found
Mm-hmm.
their own blog on what everything is summarized as, and it just makes me
Did
laugh
you
like,
ask Google Bard to summarize it for you?
oh, that'd be I don't use Google though. Well, I use Google search engine. No, actually, I don't use Chrome. Anyways, um, what am I trying to get at? Yeah, just the whole help me write, help me read, help me find whales. Stuff like that. Did
It's
you?
kind of a fever dream.
I can't believe you missed
But
that, Randy. It is the Drew had a whole field day for like I think an hour and a half or two, just like memeing on every single thing, and it was totally called for. It was totally fair. Every single second was.
not everyone liked it. I had a few people that were mad at me for ridiculing them. I want to remind everybody that I do the exact same thing to Apple, just so we're clear. I am that kid in the back row of the classroom making jokes about everything the teacher said. Like it's the equivalent of that kid sitting next to you at the Google event, at the Apple event. Like, I'm convinced if they invited me to one of those events, I'd be kicked out. Probably because of all the jokes I'd be cracking along the way.
Ask you to leave.
The thing is, Randy, is like every fourth word was AI. That
That's
halfway
because
through,
Microsoft beat them into 1998. Like they completely forgot who they were, and Microsoft was dragging their big old Bing all over them, and they're like, "That's right, baby." This, yeah, the Bing AI.
Well, I will-
GPT, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Hey, I will give them credit, more so than Tesla does with Investor Day, which I think is pointless. Google stock went up a bit after I.O. Like, more people bought the stock after
Tesla
that keynote.
stock
So,
went up after CEO was named for Twitter.
well, not named, but Elon just said he's not going to be the CEO in 6 weeks. And that was enough.
Twitter's alive
Tesla,
again.
baby!
Yeah. But
Oh.
yeah, I think the help me write feature was particularly hilarious because it's basically imagine GPT responding to your emails. Like, it feels very. The reason I can't get too excited for it is because Google kills so many things all the time that half the software stuff they announced, I wouldn't be surprised if we never hear about again.
I mean, the immersive
But-
maps was at least it's gonna stick around because they're not gonna kill maps, so that's a nice bonus.
That's true.
But
Yeah, but that was like a minute. I'm talking about like the other 90 minutes of the keynote, which we're
Palm
talking about.
2 and Gemini.
Like when I'm writing a slide, I can forget to write show notes for my slides presentation. And then I ask, they had so many names to keep track of.
Oh, there's
Palm
one
2,
so
there's
there's
Bard,
Gemini.
there's Gecko, there's
Unicorn.
2 separate unicorn things. There's one thing that's like Palm 2 on higher end hardware that's called Unicorn, and then there was a different thing totally separate also called Unicorn. I don't know what it is. I'm sure their company is threatened by Bing and is now doubling down on all the things OpenAI is doing, and I'm sure it's very impressive. But their marketing team, I think, is really what needs GPT attention. They need someone to find a way to pitch what the company is doing in a more streamlined, simplified way, because the reason I make fun of these events is because the whole concept of a person getting on a stage and trying to talk to you about services and products, it's just awkward inherently. It's always going to be awkward. There's no Steve Jobs was the best one at doing it, and everyone's trying to be as good as Steve Jobs was on stage, and they're all failing at it because they're like, well, we want everybody to have a turn on stage, so they switch them out every 5 minutes, and you can never get
Now,
attached
do you want to
to
see
one
these demos or
person.
no? They're really cool
Yeah.
demos.
No.
Steve
Ran-
could do it. No
Oh.
one else can do it.
At one point, Randy, they were just doing random Google searches for about 10 minutes and explained to you how to search on Google.
Oh, thank
was-
God for that.
It
I'm
was
so sad.
What
I
was that
missed
one?
it.
Like, look for e-bikes in red in Seattle
No.
or
So
something?
first, you want a bike because you're biking 4 or 5 miles and there's a hill.
Through
and then-
hills.
Through hills, and then it suggests you a whole bunch of other stuff, and you're like, oh wait, there's things called e-bikes. I want one in red, and then like you add that to your search and all that, and then it gives you a more, I don't know. Like I think at one point I was on board with the whole like instead of searching things in pieces and all that, like how we usually search stuff, you've kind of tuned your brain into like how you search in pieces. where now
Mhm.
they're more advocating towards write a whole paragraph about what you want, like what your actual question is, like to a human, and the human can decipher it. And they're pointing out that now we can basically do that, but a lot of their demos were not that, except for like maybe one or two.
I
And
would say,
even
all right, Google, give me investment advice. Go. Then I'm gonna call my
They'll
lawyer.
tell you to buy Alphabet stock.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
I already got the S&P 500. Give me specific investment advice. Go. Then I'm gonna call my lawyer and be like, all right, I lost money on this.
Don't
guy.
remember when, and I'm not going to pull it up, so don't ask me to, but I swear I remember being in my attic in the old days, back in like 2016 or 2017. I remember watching Google I.O., and they pitched something almost identical, which was like you can Google search follow-ups, and the assistant will know the context of those follow-ups. So you can say, like, where's the best place to watch whales? And it gives you answers. And then you go, what about humpbacks? And it knows that you mean humpback whales opposed to some other form of them.
I thought we were looking at the Hunchback of Notre Dame and.
I don't know, but
what about light bulbs?
I swear, I remember watching them say, and it understands context. And I had that moment again on Wednesday, and I was like, hey, I've seen this one before. And there was also the one with Pixel where they were like, thanks to the Google built-in chip, you can give Google Assistant commands without saying Google every time, and it will do it on the phone fast. I remember them saying it is faster than using your fingers, like it's faster than the touchscreen. And they were showcasing open camera, take selfie, open email, reply to email, and they were doing all this stuff really, really fast. But then, of course, everyone realized that's really hard and annoying because people can't articulate what they want on a smartphone that quickly. You don't think about, how do I express to Google Assistant what I want? No, you just touch it, you move it, you grab it. You don't go, enter jiggle mode.
Pop it.
Put mail app at space 4 out of 16. You know, people don't like articulation. That's why half the stuff at Google I/O
even when you're put on the
formulate into
spot,
anything.
we've talked about this. If you wanted to have a natural conversation with Siri or Google Assistant, or whatever, it has to be able to handle longer pauses when you're not talking to it or when you're filling
And
dead air.
mistakes.
Yeah,
when you correct yourself.
Or when
Yeah.
you go with the thing, basically get the Jeff Goldblum man, right? It's like life. If Jeff Goldblum can get through it, then you know it's a good software because
Jeff Goldblum
yes,
confirmed for Google
yeah.
I/O 2024. Then
next
We
thing
all know Jeff Goldblum does not use Siri. or
No,
Google
no, no, no.
Assistant.
Yes, right. No. Maybe. La ti da. Maybe a little bit here. Laissez faire. Maybe.
he
Yeah.
definitely uses the generative AI wallpapers that they showed off in this event. But
Mhm.
Hang on.
you're gonna say, Randy?
So, being able to like have context or contextualized conversations with the software, being put on the spot, it's like, boop boop. Yes. How may I help you? Boop. I need to get directions to Walmart. No, wait, Target. We need.
You
to go to
waited too
Target.
long.
Boop,
Getting
boop, boop.
directions.
Getting directions to Whole Foods. That's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
So it has
It's
to be able
too
to
much
do
pressure.
that.
This is why people like to order things through an app rather than calling.
And then you just get
Google
more
knows this,
stacked on fees because you're doing it through DoorDash or whatever, versus calling the company directly and they're like, all right, just give us $40 when you get here or whatever.
Well, I mean, that they boast about that, right? They're like how you don't have to be on hold on the phone because they'll dictate the phone call for you with this call screening feature.
Oh, I know that.
It's like, yeah, because I don't want to talk. That's why I like that. Why are you expecting me to talk to a robot all the time if I don't want to talk to a human? And the human's probably going to understand me better than the robot is.
Mhm.
Like, I think their business is a little too voice oriented, but
yeah, some
that
people
correlates well with their search engine, I guess.
Some people
but
just don't want to talk all the time. They just. What about mute people? That's rude.
true. This isn't inclusive.
Oh, that's rude. Canceled.
I'm so offended.
I'm so well, I mean,
Yeah.
Right. Agreed.
I'm so offended. Yeah, thank you.
Right. But I mean, there was some hardware. What did you think of the hardware, Mike?
Oh, I loved it, honestly. It was well
All of it?
after an hour and a half of listening to AI every fourth word. Yeah. Once we got to
It was like, phone!
well,
I
yeah,
know
we got
what
to
that is!
we got to 7 a.m. Like, finally, yes, a breath of fresh air. I'd been drowning underneath the ocean of AI for the past hour and a half. Um, I think was it the 7A is pretty neat. I like their colors. Somehow, for some reason, I mentioned this on your Discord. The blue that they have for 7A is something I like a whole lot more than what was on the 13 Pro. Somehow, for some reason,
Ah,
like it
yes.
looks very identical, but also different. I don't know whether it's just the camera bar
I
integrating
love the
it a
camera
certain
bar.
way or something like that. I'm not too
I want
sure.
Apple to rip off the camera bar, please.
Yeah,
Just
it's
steal
just
it.
that blue
Don't
looked
even.
better on it versus on the iPhone, and I can't put a finger on it. I'm unsure, but
Okay.
7A was pretty neat. I'm a I think the star of the show, in my opinion, was the Pixel tablet. Like
I
we
agree.
we get to the Pixel Fold, but like the tablet, I think I've mentioned this ever since the leaks came out that like Google's thinking about making a tablet that mounts onto a mount that you can use as like your home
Yes.
interface or whatever, like the Google Hub
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, like that Nest Hub. I'm like, yes, let's do that because I was mentioning to my wife after the event because she got home around then that
Mm-hmm.
what do I do with my iPad Mini when I'm not using it? It just sits on a
You
desk or in
you
a
fold it
bag.
up and it sits there. Yeah.
Yeah, it does
Right.
nothing. Why not just put on a charging pad where like it can sit there either with the screen off or screen on with like a nice little wallpaper or whatever, and then when I want to use it, I just
Right.
tap in all that and it can
Shuffling photos.
yeah, or use it for like
Mm-hmm.
music or whatever. It'd be nice to have that dynamic screen and
It's
utilize the
called an
tech that I
iPad
have.
Pro, Mike, and you need one.
You can't you no
Final
Looking right
Cut
at it.
Pro.
it
Five
doesn't
bucks a month.
do- I guess what I'm getting at
Photos
is like
Plus.
jeez Louise. We'll get into that as well. The whole
Uh,
photo stuff as well that Google did. I think that was pretty neat. Besides the weird bench looking thing, but yeah, definitely the Pixel tablet was my favorite thing out of the whole I/O
Me
showcase.
too.
Just because
And
that mount's
the
amazing.
price. The price is, I think, what really solidified it too. It was not crazy expensive. It's the same price as the iPad Mini, but includes the speaker, the charging dock, and it's an 11-inch display instead of, the Mini 8.3.
Nothing's wrong
So
with this 8 point whatever
Perfect,
inch
Mike.
screen.
It's
It's
perfect.
great.
I love the
it's
size
got the
of your
camera
8-inch.
in the proper place. It's in landscape mode, and it was so refreshing to me to see a tablet unveiled without a keyboard and trackpad. There's no keyboard and trackpad attachment for it at all. They're
Blasphemy.
not selling one. They didn't. It's not.
Sacrilegious.
Dear Lord.
Randy, have you seen the kickstand on the Pixel tablet?
The little metal ring?
Yes,
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Not gonna lie.
I
No.
love that.
That thing's
cool.
gonna slip everywhere.
No, it's
No.
it's a magnet. It goes, and it doesn't
No, no,
interfere
no, no,
when
no,
you
no,
dock
no,
it.
no, 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 no. So like it's all metal.
Yeah.
It's on a sleek surface, and okay, I guess what I'm getting at is that hinge that it uses against the case better be pretty stiff, or else that thing's just gonna flop everywhere because it's got no
It
plastic
looks
bits on the
stiff
bottom.
to me, but I think like that is going to age, in my opinion, so much better than the Smart Folio covers Apple's been selling for 1,500 years. Those things that peel on the edges, like
Yep.
they
Yep.
they collect all these oils, and that's one of the reason I kind of hate the Magic Keyboard case. Is it's like $350, and then after a year of use, there's like no hope of ever getting that thing clean again. It is just permanently stained, scratched, and like rubbing off on the edges. Like you should see my wife's 10.5-inch iPad Pro like smart cover thing. Like it's all peeled open and there's pads coming out the side. I'm like, yeah, this is just not a good material for something that has to be folded and unfolded over and over again. And most of those smart folio covers only have one height variation, right? You can only mount it one way. And now, if I want it to adjust the tilt of it, I have to put my Apple Pencil behind it or my AirPods behind it to try to get it positioned upright, opposed to an adjustable one that just goes up
Yeah,
and
but you
down.
can only go so high, right? It's only meant for a certain angle of like 35 to 40 degrees or something like that.
Yeah, but there's variation. The smart folio covers, there's zero variation. It's just pick one angle and that's it.
What are you talking about? You get two angles, right?
There's-
No.
they're
I'm
not
not.
dynamic though.
What are you talking about? You have this angle, and
That's not. Yeah,
then you also have this angle. You don't have that on the
that's it
Pixel.
though. You have to. Yeah, you do.
No,
You can
you
flip.
don't.
Have you seen the video of people using it?
Well, I haven't seen people using it because I don't think it's out for like another year. But like,
No, it's coming out next month. But Marquez
Oh.
has one in his video.
I don't
He
think
can
it's something
fold it
else.
almost completely flat, so you can push it down further than the angle of the iPad you just showed, from what I could see. Like that ring moves a lot. It almost goes completely outward. I was very impressed by that little case design. I was like, that's clever. That'll probably age better. But
And say the buzzword. It's minimal.
minimal. It does look very clean.
and it has a white bezel, so it's the best thing ever.
Not all of them.
No.
Not all of them have.
That's probably your favorite thing,
Thank
though,
God
Drew,
they
is that
listened.
they offer a version that doesn't have the white bezel, so it
That's
automatically
what
makes it
Apple
the best
should have
thing ever.
done. Yes. Now you can choose which one you want. You want the white bezel or do you want the right one? There's a choice.
Jeez.
When you try to check out the one with white bezels, it goes, oops.
Oops,
Looks
you
like
clicked the
you
wrong
made a
one.
mistake there.
401
Yeah.
page. Oops, page cannot load. Well, let's get you back on track.
Oh, other thing worth mentioning, 128 gigs by default. Unlike
That's pretty
iPad
good.
mini and iPad 10. Double the default storage.
Double
so-
the refresh rate.
No. No. Still 60 hertz, but I'm looking at the page right now, and I just think it's a really clever. Like, both of these product categories were suffering with identity crisis, right? Smart speakers. What am I? What am I supposed to be? What do we do? Do we go bigger? Do we go more expensive? Do we go cheaper? Do we go smaller? And then tablets.
You made me.
Jeez.
Tablets are like, am I a big phone or am I a laptop or am I a two-in-one?
Yes,
Do I
and-
redesign everything for touch or do I allow a keyboard and trackpad support? So like Surface Pro was mostly laptop that occasionally did tablet things. iPad was mostly tablet that occasionally did laptop things. And this is like, let's stop with the whole laptop nonsense because that's not going anywhere. And let's just make part smart speaker, part tablet. Keep the price low. That's my favorite part. I don't think this would be the same discussion if it was like $700 or more. If it was like an $1,000 smart speaker, no, this isn't really going to go anywhere. But a mobile tablet with good battery life that you can just drop, and like you said, when you're not using your iPad, it just sits there doing nothing. That feels wasteful, especially as there's more people investing in Nest hubs, having a little bit of a visual to go along with your smart speaker in the kitchen or wherever you want to put it. You can put that charging dock in the kitchen, take it off when you want to use it on the couch, in the living room, whatever. Then you're done, plop it back there. It's USB-C, correct port. Just I gotta give them credit. They knocked it out of the park, and I'm very impressed. I think that was the right call in so many ways. They even have like a center stage knockoff thing where the camera zooms in and out. I'm just
I am
like,
curious with how loud that speaker is, though. The little mount that is a speaker, how loud that is
Yeah.
compared to a home mini or Nest Mini, whatever you
Yeah.
call it now.
me too.
Along with if you can still interact with that speaker when the iPad, the Pixel tablet isn't connected to it, right?
I don't
So
think
like,
so.
okay,
That's what I.
it
That's
would
what
be
I've
neat
read. Is
though.
there's no mics in the speaker itself, which does seem like a missed opportunity.
Maybe that comes with the second generation or the third generation or whatever.
Yeah.
At least this is the one product that I'm like, please keep this around. Like the Pixel
Yeah.
as well, but like the Fold, like I
Yeah.
get like if that wanes and goes away and all that just because it was a fad, maybe probably not. I don't know. I think for as long as Samsung and Oppo and whoever else are making foldables, I feel like Google will
That's
still
it.
try to give a decent attempt at it. But
Yeah.
at least with like this tab, I'm like, this is like what you're saying before, is a gold mine. Like it's found its identity. Now let's just
Yeah.
optimize it more so that way you get you have a reason to give this to your grandma and then buy the new one because the new one now has a
Right.
speaker mic in it and then also can do whatever else. You can take it
Hmm.
outside or whatever. Who knows? Um, that's what I'm more excited for is like the the future of this in the fact that it's reality now, but reality plus the future of it and the
Reality
possibility of owning
Pro.
it virtually.
Took
Yeah.
the words out of my
I
mouth.
don't know. That stole
Yeah,
the show for me.
I love it. I want to. I no joke. Like a tech review aside, I want one. I want to get one. Like
Hmm.
my my master plan that I'm still working on that needs to pass the House and the Senate and everything is I want to sell
You have
the
one too.
12.9-inch iPad Pro.
You have one too.
I want to sell my iPad
This
because
is
I'm
our
not using it
UN.
at all.
Our UN comes
This is
together.
our United
to talk about
Nations.
what we're trying to get done
Yes.
in our respective jurisdictions. All right, no, go ahead.
I don't know the financials or the logistics of how it's possible. The reason I haven't pre-ordered one is because I'm going to be out of the country when the delivery starts, so I don't want to order one now. And I might be against buying anything new at this point. I'm going to see if I could save money, buy it secondhand or whatever. Amazon Renewed, I get the full 90 days, right? But I would like to trade my Google Home Max and 12.9-inch iPad Pro for one of these.
Wow.
Like,
I did
think
not
it
know
would
you
kind
still
of-
had the Max. I thought that was gone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
No. Use it every day, too, by the way. That's
Oh,
the funny
dang.
thing.
That thing got loud.
I pitched it. It never gets past 50% volume. It's way too overkill for what we use it for. But I've asked my wife about it, and she sometimes in just normal conversation, I'm not talking about work, she's just like, I'm so glad we still have that speaker. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I use it all the time, and it sounds good. And I'm like, we should do a review on it. So I always include it in the community polls. I'm like, what should I make next? Google Home Max review 4 or 5 years later? And everyone's like, nope, don't care, doesn't matter. Like, people have zero interest in that speaker. So I haven't reviewed it, but we do still use it on a daily basis. And I'm like, there's a bunch of like Nest Hub features that you get, right, with that speaker plus the display.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, it enables the now playing, and I believe it can give you recipes as you're looking them up, or you
If
can play
somebody's at your
YouTube
door,
videos
you
on
can
it.
look at your Ring as well and all that.
If you have that all set up. I don't, but yeah,
I
I
do.
still think there's a lot of that's cool. There's a lot of functionality. We have this like gate thing, so it would be pointless to put a camera there because no one would ever be seen. So that's why we don't have it out there. But yeah, just as a smart hub that plays music that you can also take off when you need and use on the go. Because now by the way, I don't know if we've talked about this, but I've moved all of my like over projects that I need over to I've moved them over to my phone.
Stop it. Oh.
So all my thumbnails, all of my outro credits, and the names at the end and everything, that's all on here now. And I have subject lift again,
Nice.
so I can just
Wait, is that a
do all my
forehead
thumbnail.
and a chin I see?
It is.
What? I was gone.
My hairline is receding. Thank you.
Oh man, that one hits a little too close home. Anyway, hey, does that mean you're using Studio now instead of Over?
Correct.
Ah, how do
I
you like
went
it?
daddy.
How do? Ooh. I don't like how you said that. That gave me goosebumps down my spine. Say it again.
It's very crammed, doing all your thumbnails on a 4.7-inch display instead of a 12.9-inch display. But
I bet that phone is so
works.
light. I mean, at this point, Drew,
Yes.
just get a 13 mini, darn it. You're right there. You're right
I think
there.
this is cheaper than a 13 mini, to be fair. But
Do you want to buy mine? I'll make it cheaper.
I did order a phone yesterday.
Whoa.
Oh, I wonder which one then. If it was yesterday, I can only imagine. You're
It's
actually
not
doing
that
it.
one.
No, you're not
It's
doing,
obviously
you're not doing the
default.
Pixel? You're not going Google? Hey.
It's a very cheap Pixel that I found.
Oh,
Is
God.
it
You're
the
not
2XL?
going.
Because that is the best Pixel.
Stop it. Mike,
should
no.
I
Yes.
reward people who make it this far into the podcast, or should I?
Yes. If not, screw them. Do it for me. Just cut it out. I
Here,
want to know.
make it a math equation. Just flash that up right there.
Mike, it is
You just-
8:30 in the
you just-
evening here. It does
Oh,
not
that's a
have.
bummer. It's only 5:30 here, and I'm an
I'll make
engineer,
you do
so
your math.
You can just
It's
blank it
powered
out
by
right here.
Google's. It's powered by Google Silicon.
Oh,
It's
6A.
not the 7. It's not the 7A,
You're getting the 6A.
and
yeah,
it
you're
gets
getting
here
the 6A.
next week.
It's in the lineup. You got the 6A.
I'm trying to keep it all cryptic and quiet. And
You need to
Randy's
say
just
it
like,
3 more
Yep.
times
Yep.
Oh yeah, no,
to make
because
it six A's.
because that's the only one that's still in the lineup, and if I remember from what I
You
saw,
have good memory, Randy. I'm surprised you remembered that.
man. You don't have my attention to do math, Mike, but I can definitely.
What did I do?
I don't know. I like to stay on the know with product. Anyway, but 6A is an amazing phone. Period.
I got it for. I don't think I'm gonna keep it, but I got it for under $250.
Okay,
That's pretty
how are
good.
you doing that?
Amazon.
Oh, of course. Oh, why do I even ask?
eBay.
Wait. Do you hate the SE that much that you're going to the Pixel?
No. I'm not permanent. We had the whole episode about the Apple Card savings account. I can't switch.
That's right. True.
Financially, I cannot switch to the Pixel. Not
You're
because
never
of
going to
the price of
financially
the
recover
Pixel.
from this.
Just I would have to keep the iPhone simply for making Apple Card payments and managing my savings account because I don't think they
What
let
a
you do that.
terrible way to live in the ecosystem.
People described it as I'm trimming the hedges of the walled garden.
I do that every
I'm-
couple months in the shower, but you don't see me. I'm
Shouldn't
joking.
shower outside. But I'm
Gotcha,
wondering
Mike.
if I've forgotten how terrible
I got him on that one. You miss me yet?
Every day,
I'm
Randy.
wondering, have I forgotten how bad Android on a tablet is? Like,
Remember when Mufasa told Simba, "You have forgotten who you are"?
Yes, that's what's happening.
This is what's happening right now.
And it might hurt me. It might come back to bite, but still, like I think this is a really great hardware implementation for the Pixel tablet.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm reviewing cheap iPhones, I think it would be fair to review some cheap Androids too. So there's actually a couple I have in mind, but I figured everyone's going to be talking about the 7A. So I could just fall in with the crowd and be like, I also got the 7A. It is pretty good. Thanks for watching, And I'm sure it would be a fine phone. I'm sure it would be a fine phone, and I'm sure there's nothing really that intrinsically wrong with it. But I've been diving down this iPhone 10, iPhone SE2 route of the older tech. So I thought 6A, being able to find it secondhand for a little over $200 would be a good opportunity for the question to arise. Should you go with the 7A or should you go with the 6A? And my
How would you
conclusion,
know if you don't have the 7A, Drew?
Well,
everyone else
I
reviewed
can't.
it, but
Everyone's
no,
already reviewed it. So
But-
I get to tell you all from an Apple Sheep's perspective
from
how bad
2023.
is the 6A in 2023. And like, is it worth twice the price? You could buy 2 6As for the price of one 7A if you go renewed.
Yeah.
That's not how math works. 6 plus 6 does not equal 7.
Well, no, but
We're going to need to add some community notes to
so,
Mike's statement.
so let me ask you this then, Drew, on the subject of older tech. How are you liking the SE2 right now?
It's pretty horrible.
Oh, is that really? Yeah. What snapped for you? What made you want to go? What made you want to go Pixel 6A? What does
What
your
made me
lovely
wanna-
wife have that you don't in the brain to make you go, I hate my life. I gotta go Google.
No,
Or
this
s-
was. I don't know what. I forget what Mike considered it. Randy, would you consider this a downgrade or a side grade from an iPhone 10?
Oh, what year did that come out? 2020?
2020.
I would make the
You
case.
blocked
it's an-
that year out.
I'm sorry.
Maybe visualizes
you
2020.
you
We're
said
still in
2020. You said 2020, and all of a sudden, like I had the 401 page come up. I'm sorry. What year did you say that was? I don't. Is that
401
English?
page.
I said, oh, it came out in 2020.
Yeah, that 20.
I don't know if you can hear it.
Oh, I hear it. Wait,
I don't know.
Discord muted it.
no, I heard it. It's into the void. Okay, wait. Make that joke one more time. Ready? Play it one more time. I'm sorry, Drew.
Okay.
What year did you say that phone came out in?
Oh, 2020.
Yeah, no, I there's this I don't even know what you're saying. That blocked out. That there's 2019 and then there's 2022. Math, Drew. I would actually
Yeah.
make the case, if I dare, it's an upgrade. You upgrade it.
That's what I thought. I considered it it's a chip upgrade, objectively. A11 to A13.
Yeah, I guess with the chip, I was actually going to say in the sense that you get it's a camera upgrade as well. It has a better camera.
Kinda, yeah.
It
some
has
ways.
the better chip. That one has night mode, doesn't it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's the third gen SE. Ooh.
That doesn't get it either.
One of them had to have it, I thought.
No.
What? All right,
They
never
require
mind.
focus pixels. I hated that. That's why I hate the SE3 so much. I'm so
Yeah.
angry about that phone. They should have added MagSafe too. I don't know why they didn't.
Okay, it's not an
Yeah.
upgrade. It's a side grade. Yeah, that's a side grade then.
Okay. Well, the justification for it was for work, like when Riley Lynch, God bless him, does the time codes for these podcasts, must be having the time of his life editing them out. Well, wait, they went back to that. Hold on. They went back. Like, he edits those whole things, and when I want to add the time codes to the podcast, my iPhone 10 didn't have live text. So, and they don't let you select text on the YouTube app or on YouTube Studio. It removes the time codes for no reason. It's so annoying. The iPhone 10 was a better media consumption device. Better display, bigger display, OLED, and I was watching videos on it. I was using Twitter on it all the time. Was not helping with the smartphone addiction. I thought going from 13 Pro Max to iPhone 10 would make me use my phone less. No, not really. The iPhone 10 is just as beautiful, just as gorgeous, just as addicting.
It's nice.
SE2, ugly from the front, to say the least.
That's what she said about
the-
me.
Ugly from the front.
But I tried.
Look at that chin.
didn't I? Yeah, sorry, I'm back.
It's got a home button, which I forgot how much. I don't like the home button. It is not a good idea. It is.
Wow.
There's a place in Bing hell for you with all that.
a big.
That's you and Google. Oh.
No, like if you're using your phone and someone else is just being quiet and, reading or relaxing or trying to take a nap, and you're over there going, sorry, I'm multitasking, and you can't turn it off. Like you can reduce the taptic feedback of the button, but there's no just off, opposed to before, you can swipe up to go home, swipe up to multitasking, makes no noise. This is all the time, and everything feels very squished. All the text is really stuffed together. It's not good, but that's kind of the point. Is it's less addicting, and it can do more work-related things like subject lift. I need that for video thumbnails and live text. I need that
You
for
hate
the time
your
codes.
iPad this much.
Continuity camera. What?
You hate your iPad this much. You can't just subject lift off the iPad. You're like, that thing is dead to me. I'm replacing
There's
it.
so many times, I don't know, I've discovered there's so many situations where I just barely finished making a video and I set it to upload, but we gotta go. There's a family event, there's a friend thing going on. I gotta leave, but I want to be able to post that video while I'm out and about. And sometimes I need to make a thumbnail while I'm not at home. So I don't want to pack the iPad everywhere with me. It would be cool if there was a tablet that I could like fold up and fit in my pocket, but they just don't make those, I guess. That's a shame. But
We live in hard times in 2020.
If there was ever a tablet that I could just fold up and I could go into my pocket and just condense all those pixels. If there was ever like a type of tablet that I could
condense
fold
all those
and,
pixels.
and condense those pixels, but they don't make them.
But also those Androids don't have subject lift. I don't think they have.
Isn't
they
that what
might have
that new
something
thing
like
was with the
live
chair and the balloon and the girls? Like it was subject lifting and moving it.
You're able to edit the photo, but I don't think you're able to just take.
Yeah, it wasn't
text off of
lifting the subject out. It was just adding to it, which was. But they straight up stole the exact same animation though. It did the white highlight
That's why I
around
thought.
the
I was like,
side.
oh, look at that. That's subject lift.
This is why I was like, all iOS and Android are all just
So-
kind of blurring. They were like, we love Find My Devices.
Shut up.
And
With
we
an air,
love-
did you not see that? Oh my goodness! Find
Yeah.
my, and then they showed an air tag later. It's like this. Okay, cool.
They were like, you can track all of your devices and get pop-ups when unwanted trackers, and it's like, uh-oh, Apple AirTag detected nearby. It's like, oh no, there's an Apple product near you. Get
Ew.
away, quick.
I thought I could smell a fresh garden on the
I
other
love it.
side.
I love it for the record. Like Google was throwing shade about RCS. They were like, we hope everyone gets the message. And then in an interview, they're like, Tim, why are all the pictures that I send to my mom blurry? And Tim's like, 'cause you're stupid and poor. You should buy an iPhone. Buy your mom an iPhone. And
Wow.
everyone goes, oh! Like, I love it. The dissing at each other is amazing. I want more savage moments. Google, roast Apple. Yes, that's good. Apple, roast good. Like, keep going. Keep it up. This
But
is
not
the most
Samsung
interesting
because
stuff we got.
they're just mean about it. Go sit down. I don't need
Well,
you
you
making
don't
fun
like
of my
the
haircut.
forehead shit.
I don't need her making fun of my haircut.
I should. When
My mother
hair's
is a lovely
completely
lady.
that you are constantly trying to convert over to Apple.
Oh, I already got her.
That's your.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's your mother-in-law.
That's my
but
mother-in-law.
That's right.
Which
That's
she will
different.
be here in a week, and you know I'm gonna get right back to work on her. Just be like,
We should wrap up. But do you guys have final thoughts?
wait. We're not leaving here until you tell me what the heck is going on with your Apple Watch.
Oh, it's charging. Here.
Oh, it's just dead. Okay.
Oh, I just didn't put it on.
All right, man. I thought
I'm
you were
trying
like.
to disconnect more. You know what? This ties us back into the beginning. So you're late to news when you find out about it from Nick. You know, like
Unless it's the best SpaceX.
I
That was
took
so bad.
Why is Grandpa Nick the one breaking news to me?
I took a mental health day on Tuesday
You
because
fool. Out of all the days.
I needed some time. I was like, I need to take a break from it all. And basically that whole day, I didn't put on my watch. I didn't put on my phone. I was just like talking deeply with my wife, and I was journaling, and I was just self-reflecting on just like the world and what life is and what I want to do with my life and
Some
my career and what
shrooms
it
and all
means.
that.
Yeah, he's doing the. I did take my Cosentyx, so yeah, he's doing drugs.
Wow.
But
Ever tried DMT?
what?
Hey, Jamie,
Wait.
pull that up for me. Wow.
And I did all that, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take the whole day off. And it was like 3 or 4 p.m. when I finally checked my phone for the first time. I was like, okay, I got a bunch of texts. What is this? And it's Nick who texted me the screenshot. It goes, wow, finally, Apple adds Final Cut in Logic. It is like 6 a.m. this morning. I was like, they do it today of all days.
Yep.
There's been weeks of
Tim,
no news, and
Tim,
he's
Drew's
trying
off
to
his
find
phone today.
something.
We're tracking his phone. He hasn't had any phone activity today. Do it. Do it.
Drop
Wow.
it today. Let's drop it now. So when I finally get on my phone, I was like, "Oh, I overslept. Did I miss anything, you
I
guys?"
saw that.
But I was like, the fact that Nick texted me this, he probably knew something was wrong. Like, Drew hasn't said anything yet. I better send him something.
He had to wait the full 24 hours to do a welfare check on you to call it in. So
You
he
don't
was
have
just-
to wait 24 hours.
But there's stuff. The watch was buzzing about the earthquake detected. I didn't feel anything, but basically, I find it mentally refreshing when you're taking time away from everything. So this weekend, actually, I'll be completely disconnected. I'm gonna be going on a little retreat.
Oh, you're
with some
going to a
friends.
national park? That's awesome.
Kind of, yeah, like classic horror movie stuff. It's a cabin in the woods
Oh,
alongside a lake,
Mm.
and I'm
No,
not.
you're
taking my
white. It's
phone.
fine. It'll be okay for you. It'll end well
I'm
for
not
you.
taking my phone. I'm not taking my watch.
I'm the comic
We're taking
relief.
our-
I'm screwed. But you're good. Mike is the wild card. He's the killer.
We haven't gotten to that part of the movie yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna be just off. I'm gonna be like
That's good.
a full day without my phone on me. I'm kind of excited for it. Actually, it'll be fun. So if you're wondering why the podcast was late, could be why.
So then, okay, so if there's nothing wrong with the watch, the last thing about the SE is that it's really small and condensed, and it's everything you don't like about it, which is
Battery is horrible too,
Oh.
by the way.
well, that's your
Um,
wife's fault, right?
It's not real. I mean, it's over 3 years old, so it's
Yeah.
kind of natural.
Yeah.
It's at 78%. It has
Ooh, battery
important
replacement.
battery message. Your battery health is significantly degraded.
Replace it
And-
now.
I'm just gonna wait and see what happens. I'm gonna see how bad it gets. So far, everything works. It just drains really fast.
Does that mean
but-
you have the optimal charging or the optimal performance toggle now that you can choose between performance or
No,
battery?
it's still no. It does. It still says peak performance capability.
Oh. Well, then I'm confused.
I don't get it either. I've never been like dailying a phone that had battery health this bad, and there were a lot of people back when Mike was having issues with his 11 Pro
Right.
on this show that were like, "Oh, Mike just needs to upgrade the battery and that'll fix all his problems." I am curious if that's actually true, because I've seen people on Twitter and in the comments that have said, "No, I got my battery replaced and there were still some problems afterwards. Like it was still too old and glitchy and buggy." So I want to see if, like, how bad does it get when you dip below 80%? Does it actually need to be replaced at that point? Because I'm still using it and it's fine. And does actually replacing the battery genuinely fix the problems if I do start experiencing them?
$30 for that, right? 35 bucks for the SE?
69.
Whoa.
Nice.
Wow.
All right, let's wrap it up. We're done here. We're all right. That's good.
Oh,
All right. But did you have something, Mike?
well, we didn't get to talk about the Pixel Fold for about 30 minutes and say why it's the best product ever, but that's okay. We can save that for next week.
That is
Lightning
a story
round.
for another time.
Or USB-C round? I wasn't impressed by it. I thought it was too expensive for the specs it offers. Go, Mike.
USB round? What?
Lightning round.
Oh, ha 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 ha.
Get it,
ha,
Mike?
ha,
The lightning port. Mike, do you get
ha.
Wow.
Thanks, Tim, for joining us today.
You're so insightful.
Who knew we'd get Tim Cook on the podcast? I would
He's going to be on every show now.
Wow.
Bezels aren't everything.
Take that, Drew.
No, I had no problem with the bezels, for the record. I think
Oh. Take that, Mike.
bezels.
Ow!
This is a lightning round because it's really slow.
Oh, he did it. He did the thing. He did it.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.